remember September 11th as if it was yesterday. When I was about 16 years old, I was on my way to school. I was actually late for school that day, which is unusual for me at the time. And it was about 8:40, 8:45, and usually from where I lived in Brooklyn, I walked about 2 to 3 blocks to the G train, and for about 2 to 3 stops got out the train station. And I walked up the street, and I noticed that there were papers flying in the sky. As I looked up in the sky, I was bewildered, did not know anything about what was going on. Continued on to school for about a block or so. Walked through the front door of the school, and I seen a lot of kids running around. They were crying, and there was a lot of panic. And again, still at this time, I did not know what was going on. Usually every day in which I walked up the steps to go to my class, it was history class, I would look past the window and I would see the World Trade Center. The difference on this day is that when I looked out the window to see the World Trade Center, it was just surrounded by smoke. Continued on to history class as if I was just shocked at what was going on. Walking to class, silence, a lot of kids missing, kids crying. The teacher wheeled the TV into the classroom, played CNN, and they had told us, he had explained to us, as well as us viewing the news report, that 2 planes were hijacked and they were actually crashed into the World Trade Center. You never think an act of terrorism could ever happen, especially being in New York, and you know, nothing to this scale has ever happened before. And even to this day, as bad as my memory is, I remember the looks on everybody's faces. I may not attribute a lot of things to joining the Army, but that one act of terrorism was enough for me to do what I felt like I could do.
Where I was during the events of 9/11, I was stationed at Camp Humphreys, Korea. I was already 9 years in the military. News came in to me by one of my daughters. She called me and let me know what was going on. I heard seeing younger soldiers going through this at the same time. They're away from home for once, and one of the things too, they feel the same way as I did. You know, you join to be able to support your country, defend it anywhere you are, but when something like this happens, you are away, you know, from home, you know, what you feel that that's what you're supposed to be defending. In the military, I guess you belong to 2 different families. You got your own family to take care of, but at the same time, you got your uniform family that you have to hold together and help everybody. So this is one of the things where now, looking at it, I stayed in the military longer, and I still, you know, a lot of the stuff that we're doing, you know, it's all to defend and everything, and we just hope that all the changes and everything that we have been doing, it actually helps and support everybody within our families.
Time is passing, yet for the United States of America, there will be no forgetting September the 11th. We will remember every rescuer who died in honor. We will remember every family that lives in grief. We will remember the fire and ash, the last phone calls, the funerals of the children. And the people of my country will remember those who have plotted against us.
The thing over the past 10 years that really stands out, my brother did 2 tours in Iraq, and I just remember him coming home and talking about how he saw things changing from his first tour to the second tour later on. And I think over time we've started to see more positive change throughout the world. I think Arab countries are creating on their own now. It's kind of that motivator. Maybe it was sparked by the Allied nations going through Iraq and Afghanistan to kind of spark that change throughout the world.
If I could say something to the families back home, I would say for those that have lost children, husbands and wives throughout the course of this war, or for those that have lost anybody in the September 11th attacks, just know that you don't stand alone. And if I had the power to bring your loved one back, I certainly would. But I wish that everybody could grow old one day, lay their head down, and pass from this life to the next in their sleep. But unfortunately, that's not the reality we live in. That's not the world we live in. And there are many men and women who have vowed to make a difference in this world so that the generations to come could potentially live in a world free of terror, in a world free of oppression and fear. And there's still many men and women to this day that have vowed to see this thing through to the very end. And those that have been lost, they'll never be forgotten, and they most certainly did not die in vain.
My fellow Americans, this has been a difficult decade for our country. We've learned anew the profound cost of war, a cost that's been paid by men and women who will not live to enjoy the freedom that they defended. May God bless our troops, and may God bless the United States of America.